Today we're checking out the LEGO Speed Champions McLaren Elva polybag, and we're gonna see what I think could be the next LEGO Speed Champion sets. As mentioned before, today we're checking out the LEGO Speed Champions McLaren Elva polybag. And here it is. Now obviously it's a polybag, so there's not gonna be bags of parts, and it is the bag of parts. And on the cover, you can see the McLaren Elva driving in front of the McLaren test facility. And yes, that actually is the same building as what we saw on the McLaren Senna. The link to that video will be at the end of this one. Now, getting into it, you just kind of tear the top and open it up, just like you would any other Lego bag. And there are all of our parts. Put that off to the side. And then we can open up these, which is just a bunch of smaller parts. And then we have our instruction sheet instead of a little instruction book. You just kind of unfold this little sheet of paper that has all of our building instructions on there. So I will be using those, of course. And I'm really curious to see what's in here because I was looking through the bag and I was trying to imagine what would come in a box. There's usually capes would come in a box, maybe ropes or something like that. But in this one, it is actually our sticker sheet, which is pretty cool. We're actually getting a sticker sheet in a polybag kit. Now, let's get to the build, and I'll talk more about what I think could be the next Speed Champion sets. For those of you who are subscribed to the channel or have seen previous videos, you would know that we would normally be doing a speed build right now, but this time I'm just going to build it live, and we are actually going to be talking about what I think could be the next line of Speed Champions, of course being the 2021 wave. Now, there are times in the past where we've gotten our Speed Champions wave in late spring, maybe even early summer. However, the past couple years we've actually been getting them during the first winter wave of the year. So of course not getting any this year in the winter wave was a little weird, and before that we never even got any leaks or possible images of the actual set, so that of course was a little weird, and I was a little bit scared that we just wouldn't have any more Speed Champions, because as you guys may know, Speed Champions are definitely one of my favorite, if not my very favorite line from LEGO. And I just really like building the little cars, and they always have tons of detail, and it's just a very fun building experience every time. Now, when I saw this polybag kit at the store, when I was just kind of looking around for the new 2021 sets, now I found this thing and I was just very excited because I figured that there might actually be hope for the Speed Champions line after all, and I obviously bought it immediately because it's really cool, and the McLaren Elva I think is a very cool car anyways. Now, that said, I think that we may end up getting some future cars such as the Chevy Corvette Stingray C8 and maybe even a Ford Bronco, and then maybe after that we could end up getting something along the lines of maybe like a Ferrari SP1 Monza or Monza SP1. And I think that the reason why we got the polybag is because with the Lamborghini set, which was from 2020, you can go see that video on my channel, that actually had a little Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo polybag that kind of went along with it, and I think that this is kind of what they're doing with this set, with this little polybag set, is they're kind of giving us maybe a little sneak peek at what could be the future of LEGO Speed Champions. So going off of that logic, I think that we may end up seeing a full-size set with the McLaren Elva in it, and I think that that set could include the Ferrari Monza SP1 or SP2, just depending on what they decide. I would think that they may go with the SP2 because it kind of goes with the McLaren Elva a little bit better, just with its little two-passenger open cockpit race car look. And I think that would be a really cool set to see a combination of. Now, one thing that could potentially open up for in the future is the ability to have versus sets in the Speed Champions lineup. And that would just be absolutely awesome in my opinion to have some versus sets. We could potentially get Ford versus Ferrari as one of those. We could get Niki Lauda versus James Hunt. I think any of these would be a awesome rivalry kind of set to put in there, and I would just love to see LEGO actually go ahead and make rival little LEGO Speed Champion sets, and I mean that would just be absolutely awesome. Now, I think maybe another option for a double set could be maybe a Ford Bronco with a trailer that could have a Mustang GT350 or a GT500 on there, and that would be awesome. That's definitely a kit that I would probably get, and that would definitely be one of my top picks for a Speed Champions kit to come out in 2021. So, that said, I think another dual kit that we could potentially see is the Koenigsegg Jesko with the Koenigsegg Gemera, which could potentially be a very nice thing, especially if they do indeed get the rights to be able to build a Koenigsegg Gemera and a Koenigsegg Jesko. Now, speaking of the rights to building the cars, I think that could be a potential reason why we haven't seen any leaks or anything for the 2021 Speed Champions, is because they may have just not had the rights to officially release the sets or something along those lines, maybe because of COVID-19, or maybe they just want to keep it all a super secret because we are supposed to be crazy hyped for this new wave. And I think that theory to me makes the most sense, because if we're getting something like a Corvette C8 or a Ford Bronco, those are obviously at least two of the very hyped, very popular cars from 2020. And I think those could be a couple of very good choices for LEGO to make as Speed Champion cars, maybe even just in the future, and not necessarily in a 2021 wave. But, of course, another one that I would love to see is the 2020 Toyota Supra Mark V. That would be awesome, or even just any of the classic race cars like we have gotten in the past from LEGO would be absolutely awesome. And maybe something like the original Toyota Supra, or, well, most of us know it as the original, it's really the Mark IV, but that would be just awesome in my opinion, and I've always been a Supra fan. So, those are a few of the sets that I think we may actually see in 2021. Those would definitely be, in my opinion, the smart choices for some sets to see in 2021. And I just really like the idea of LEGO coming out with a C8, maybe a Ford Bronco. I mean, that just sounds really awesome to me. I really like the new Ford Bronco and the C8 Corvette. And I just think that those would be a couple of really smart, maybe financial decisions for LEGO, and I would obviously really like to see those, and I think a lot of other people would agree with me. Now, let's carry on with the build and try to figure out what the heck I'm doing here. So, we'll take this and put that there. And yeah, I would just really like to see some of those newer 2020 cars, like those revivals. Maybe even another one we could get, I'm just thinking of now, could be the Nissan 400Z. Maybe we could have that in a versus set with a Supra, or we could get a GTR versus a Supra. That could be really cool. And just really any of those sets with the JDM cars would be absolutely awesome in my opinion, or just Japanese cars in general. Or maybe even another good thing for LEGO to do could be just to release a Supra on its own, and then we could kind of soup it up ourselves, or they could make a Formula Drift Supra to go hand in hand with our 2020 Nissan GTR Nismo that we got last year. And that would actually be pretty cool in my opinion, and that would make a lot of sense as well. And I think it would be really cool if LEGO kind of prolonged the life or the shelf life of some of those 2020 sets to kind of go with some of the 2021 sets and actually kind of carry on the little bit of stuff that's actually going on with the 2020 sets, and I think that would just be absolutely awesome. Now, put this there. Put there. I just added a little black stud in there that you can actually kind of see. Maybe kind of looks like a little steering wheel for the driver. I'm actually very impressed with the amount of detail that's going into this thing so far. And the stickers, I think, are really going to push it into the next level. Now we also have to put this stuff on. It's kind of the front of the car. Looking really good so far. This might actually be the coolest poly bag. Definitely cooler than the Lego Urukan Super Trofeo poly bag that we got last year, in my opinion. And then that can go there. So for those of you that don't know, the reason why there are those two black lines is because of the lack of windshield in this car. It actually has the ability to kind of create its own wind shield, and the air from the front of the car, this little black line down there, can actually be forced up and go through to the little black hole here and kind of create a shield for the wind made out of wind, which is actually really cool. I believe these are our extra parts, which actually looks like a lot. We'll figure out if those are extras later. But now we can put on our stickers, and we have our two stickers with our exhaust pipes right here. They'll go just like that. It's a little crooked. Put it about like that. Yeah, that should be good. And then we also have stickers for the headlights. Again, this seems to be a very, very detailed poly bag. And I actually like that because it's a little $5 kit. And if you can't really afford a $20 Speed Champions car, this is still pretty cool. And it could potentially go with your little Lego racers from a while ago. I actually remember getting some Lego racers cars that are about the same size, and they're just kind of little fictional cars. But Lego came out with those, and I used to really like them, and that could be one reason why I like Speed Champions so much, is it's kind of the successor to racers. But they also had these little cars that you could play with this little McLaren Elva if you want. And lastly, of course, the McLaren badge. Putting on the front. Boom. Now we're done. Let's go on to the review. Looking at the complete LEGO Speed Champions McLaren Elva poly bag, you can see that it is surprisingly detailed for a poly bag kit. You can see all of its stickers and its little intricate details with that little vent up there, probably being the most intricate, so they're not crazy. But you can see on the back we also have a couple suggestions. I think these are supposed to be the exhaust pipes, and I said these were the exhaust pipes before. It could have 4 exhaust pipes, but I believe those could be the filler caps for the fuel tanks. And I still think that it's very cool that we got the Lego sticker suggestions in a poly bag. It's just very cool to me. And you can also see that it has all of the key features of the McLaren Elva, such as the open cockpit with those 2 little white seats, and you can see that it has the little intake here and the outtake here for the kind of windshield. So it's a really cool mechanism that Lego, or rather McLaren, has actually put into the Elva, and it is definitely something that if Lego didn't include in this little kit, it definitely would have just looked a little weird and just not been quite right. Now, one thing to me that really this is the only downfall to this little poly bag, especially since it's just a little, well, it's a poly bag. It's not supposed to be super crazy, but that is the little square wheel arches. Now, I don't think that Lego actually has pieces that you could have used to make those rounded. So that said, I think these still look really good, especially since the top is actually nicely finished and on the front actually rounded. So I think that does actually look pretty good. Now let's go on to the overview. I think this is a really cool little poly bag. You've got lots of little details with the little exhaust pipes in the back to the front of the car actually looking surprisingly accurate to the actual McLaren Elva, and keep in mind it's a poly bag, so it looks pretty good for your $5 price point. Now let me know in the comments below what you think of this cool little kit and what you think could be the 2021 or maybe even the 2022 Speed Champion sets that we will be getting in the future. and be sure to check out the description for some links so you can pick yourself up one of these cool little cars, and potentially even the 2020 cars, which will also be listed down there. Now, like, subscribe, click that bell so you never miss a video, check out this Speed Champions playlist, and remember to check out this awesome LEGO McLaren Senna. And I'll see you next time on Nuclear Fusion.